Hi guys, and welcome back to CornBread.
A multimedia production.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. What's up, guys? How we doing?
Yeah.
We're gonna go into a few things we watched and
Yeah. So we've only got
played.
Harry
Yeah.
and Joe here today.
What's on?
We don't have Cal.
Unfortunately,
He's actually in Peru.
he's in Peru.
Yeah.
What's he doing there?
He went to find Paddington.
But yeah, he was already back home.
But
now,
actually, the Browns had brought him back months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he didn't realise that it was done earlier in the year.
It's not actually when you're watching
so
it.
basically, when the film came out Friday, he thought it was real. He thought Paddington was actually stuck in Peru. So he went straight to Peru to find him, and he's still there, as far as I'm aware.
Well, we haven't heard from him.
We haven't heard. Yeah, dodgy. This is it. Yeah, satellite phone's dodgy. So he's actually in Peru looking for Paddington, but hadn't realised that actually they did all this months ago.
Yeah.
So that's where he is.
So he could be alive. It's like Schrodinger's box, a bit. Schrodinger's cat. Sorry,
Yeah.
a bit. Schrodinger's cow.
Schrodinger's
again.
bear.
He could. We assume he's both alive and dead because we have no other ulterior way of knowing.
Yeah, he could have been had by someone.
He could have or something.
Or something could have eaten him.
Bear.
A real bear, not
bear.
a talking marmalade eating bear.
No.
But so we're going to naturally segue of that into our review of Paddington in
Are we actually doing that?
Peru.
Are we not going to wait for Paddington 2?
No.
No.
There's no point, is there? We might as well review it. Edit. Might as well review it now. There's just the two of us. Cal hasn't seen it. He ain't going to see it.
No.
So we might as well review it, and we can highlight it in this episode if you want. Ready?
Yeah.
Back in the room. We're going to do our review of Paddington in Peru.
Woohoo!
We do acknowledge that we haven't reviewed Paddington 2 yet, but we have all seen it. But we saw that one with Callum, and actually Callum couldn't come to see Paddington in Peru because he was in Peru, and we want to talk about it just the two of us, which makes sense. So we're just going to go for it. So it's all going to be out of whack, but we have officially seen all three.
We have officially seen the trilogy. Potentially one of the greatest cinematic trilogies of all time.
Probably greatest cinematic British trilogies.
Yeah, I'd say. It's up there.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Oh, the Cornetto trilogy.
The Cornetto trilogy. I don't know that many other British trilogies, to be honest. I was thinking about Paddington the other day, and I was thinking, for like family-friendly films in a way, I don't think that it would be too hard to say that it probably has had the biggest cultural impact since Harry Potter, British-wise, of like British productions. I can't think of that many. Wallace and Gromit was before Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
also
then we have Harry
during,
Potter. Yeah, well, no, because it was 90s technically, wasn't it? I know that Where Rabbit came out in like
that was the
2005.
first feature film.
But in terms of that, so you've got Harry Potter, and then after Harry Potter, what's come out that is quintessentially British, that has like captured the world's imagination?
God knows, nothing.
Don't think it has. Not like to the extent of Paddington and like the Harry Potters, because the Americans love Paddington.
Do they?
Absolutely love Paddington.
Why?
Because it's great.
Is it stereotypical?
It's like it's like that like.
It's
they're like, oh, look at the Brits.
It's like idealised version of us.
Yeah, it is.
It's like completely not us at all.
No, because we're not nice, really.
Some of us are.
Some of us
like
are.
Us.
Yeah, we're great.
But the masses.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what it is. It's an optimistic viewpoint of life. But also, I think as well, Paddington has a more universal appeal across the world because essentially all it is at its heart is an immigrant's tale, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a tale of someone who's left their home to come to England to be adopted by a family. I think when it was originally wrote, it was like parables to like the World War, wasn't it, and things like that, when people were being displaced in different countries, refugees, things like that. And I think that is a tale that has stuck through time, really, hasn't it? Because it's still something that obviously exists today. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to review Paddington in Peru. So, as the name suggests, it's not really in London.
No,
it's not Paddington in London. It's Paddington in Peru. And basically, the low and the hold of the plot is that Paddington's Aunt Lucy has potentially gone missing suspiciously, as Olivia Colman says, and they need to find her. And then they go to Peru, and she's completely gone, and it's all gone a bit weird. So they go on an adventure through the jungle to find her, and then shenanigans ensue. Not as many shenanigans as I was hoping, but there was a good few.
Yeah, there was a few slapstick bits, but it was more towards the start, wasn't it? Really?
There was a good couple at the start, and then I think there was like a huge run of just plot. which is fine, but it is in its heart a basic plot, isn't it? It's, we need to get here, and there was obviously like two maybe sort of bad guys, which I quite liked, as opposed to just there being like one.
Yeah, it's almost twist.
Yeah, but there was a bit of a twist on both of them. I liked it. I thought it was funny. I think that I don't personally like it as much as I did the previous two, but I think that's a really hard, because no trilogy really has like hardly any trilogies have like 3 films in a row where they're just like
solid,
bam, bam. And I think you said you preferred it to 1, whereas I think 1 and 2 I like spot on. And I did really enjoy this, but the thing I think I missed about it was the shenanigans. I think I just missed it being in London, because it's not like a bear out of water tale anymore.
No, it's a bear in water.
It's a bear in water. He's in the jungle.
Out of water.
It is a family out of water, but there wasn't as much going on in the jungle.
No.
Like, and you kind of get the bit at the end where that kind of happens in all the films, where they all have to like confront their fears that have sort of been, or they're like the thing they're working towards, like the inventor and the fear of the spider, like embrace the fear and all of that. But I don't think that was done.
Yeah, they didn't really have like long enough to have their moment.
No,
like when the boy, I can't even remember his name.
Jonathan,
that's it. He does his like tools, doesn't he, to fix the to grab.
And he gets the bamboo like thing.
Yeah.
It's like
So like okay, he gets that moment.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 30 seconds of runtime.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the dad had probably the biggest arc in terms of the family.
But he usually does, doesn't he? I think the thing is, I found that is I really liked the idea that you've got this, like, they're a family unit, and actually they all have their sort of points they're contributing towards the plot and their own characters. And I think the main thing from it is it's like a family unit, isn't it? It's a really lovely family unit that all have their sort of struggles as family do, and they all have Paddington sort of keeping them. He brings them together in the first film, don't they? Because they're all a bit isolated, but this film they've all kind of grown up.
Well, yeah, there's that theme of kind of like saying goodbye, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because Judy's like getting old enough to go to university,
she's at uni.
So she's leaving.
Jonathan's been gaming.
Gamer chilling in his room.
Gamer chilling. Making him devices to make him even more lazy. A bit like a Wallace and Gromit, to be honest, isn't he?
Yeah, literally. But it's just that fear of letting go, I think.
Yeah.
Even though it's family, always going to be there for each other.
Yeah, I think that's what the mum's kind of thing is,
exactly.
Isn't it? But I quite like it that when there's like the callback where she's like, oh, we can't all fit on the sofa anymore, and then they're on the plane and they all like bunch up because they've fallen on top of each other, and they're like, oh, it's just so nice to have us together. Like, it is still really wholesome, and it does work well like that.
This doesn't hit as like well as.
No, I don't think it hits quite as well as 2. But I think a part of that for me is I do like Emily Mortimer as I forgot the character's name. Sally Hawkins is the actress who played her previously, but I've forgotten her name.
Lady Brown.
Mrs. Brown. But I really like Emily Mortimer is absolutely fine, and I think the problem was Sally Hawkins is just so perfect in that role because all four of those family members really suit that role. So I think for there to be a bit of a change, regardless of how well Emily Mortimer came in and to like do it, you just notice it, don't you? Because not
especially
only have you got that,
quite integral parts of the film.
Yeah, exactly, and because you're going for that theme of family, you now no longer have that family because it's a different person, and you kind of just you kind of go with the fact that is a unit, and although it's the same character, it doesn't feel the same because ultimately it's just a different person playing someone else. But yeah, so I think for me it does miss Sally Hawkins a little bit.
I agree. It just it feels like when a show replaces a character.
Yeah.
And it's like they're trying to be the same person, but you're obviously not.
Yeah.
So they could have just done like, oh, this is your stepmom.
Yeah.
Relationship with Sally broke down.
Yeah, that's it. I think Sally just didn't want to come back. I don't think there was like any like drama or anything. I just think that she wanted to just. Yeah, I don't actually know what she's doing instead at the moment.
Gossip.
But
I have to ask.
She's Well, I think that she was in Wonka for a little bit, but I don't think she was in it much. But the guy who directed the original 2 Paddingtons went and did Wonka. So I'm a bit sad that he came back. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd have preferred it if it was in London. But
Paddington in London.
Paddington in London, yeah. Or just
Paddington,
yeah.
Paddington 3.
Paddington 3. But it's still funny. It's still wholesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty much universally well performed.
It's got that really cool oil painting.
That's a really cool bit. That's one of the most imaginative bits, isn't it?
Yeah. And then it also comes back at the end with the in the first film, like the tree.
Yeah.
Like blossoming.
I like the tree. Yeah.
I like the tree.
I just don't think. I think fundamentally for me, I just don't think it was quite as well directed in a way.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that like warmth and whimsy and wholesomeness radiating from every scene like I did in the original two. They're so colourful, and even when you get shots of the Brown's house, it's the exact same house.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like it's filled with as much magic and love.
Well, yeah, you don't really get much of the neighbour charm as well because they're not there.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and all the neighbours in two make such a fun part of the they're in it for like a little bit.
Yeah,
but
you got like the little love story between the bloke that looks like Rob Brydon but isn't Rob Brydon.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Yeah, Wolverine from space.
Yeah. So it is a decent film, but I think it probably isn't quite as good as the first two. What do you think?
Yeah.
You saying?
I think so. After like having
a bit of meditation on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'd still give it. Bear with. My list is huge. I'd still give it a 7 out of 10.
7.
I'd say so. I think it just kind of for me scraped a 7 by the fact that it's just an enjoyable watch. Yeah. I think I like all the talent involved. I think special shout out to like Olivia Colman because she's just great in everything, isn't she?
Absolutely.
But I just think all 5 of that core family are just lush, and I think even aside from the like acting or whatever, the writing's just good. It's just a good mechanic. I think it works really well for the film. And I think they always find them something to like work towards at the start of the film, and then they all kind of come together by the end. Yeah, exactly. Each film has its sort of unique family problem almost that then they like galvanize towards. So I just like that. Yeah. I think it just gets by on that for me.
Happy go lucky film.
Yeah. I don't know if it's one I would go back to over watching the first or the second one.
No, I agree. Especially with how good number 2 is.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't really do anything like daring.
No.
Does it? It doesn't like go out of its comfort zone.
Bar the musical number.
Yes.
Which was probably quite out of its comfort zone in a way.
Absolutely.
But
Olivia
it's
Colman as well.
Yeah. Again, it's just Olivia Colman just being batty, isn't she?
Do you know what they should have done that made it interesting?
What?
Should have had Aunt Lucy just be dead.
That would have been heartbreaking.
They would have killed her. Like
killed her off.
The Olivia Colman and Antonio Banderas like working towards like some conspiracy.
Savage. Because it's quite rough when they like she literally just like takes her glasses off, cracks them, and then pushes her down the river in a boat. Yeah. Like, fuck you, old lady.
She may as well have just killed her.
Well, that would have been a bit of a dark twist, I think, for that.
But I feel like it would have had more of like an emotional weight.
I feel like Aunt Lucy probably will die in a film, but I don't think she'll be murdered.
No.
I'm going to say it now. I feel like she will probably just die of old bear age.
Well, I think what's going to happen is
Adam's
going to send a letter and he's not going to receive a response.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they should have done it.
Maybe. Hey-ho. Did you give your score?
No, I didn't. I'm adjusting. I said the other night 8, but I think I'm going to go for 7.5.
Nice. Same sort of region.
Still enjoyed it, but it was it's not. Not as good.
Lovely jubbly. Well, we've also watched a couple of other films. We'll talk about Bram Stoker Dracula very quickly because
barely.
Joe nodded off for a lot of it, and I nodded off for a tiny bit of it. I really liked Gary Oldman in it. Keanu Reeves is absolutely hilarious because his British accent is all over the place. And then Winona Ryder's good in it as well. I can't work out whether I think it was supposed to be a classic. I've not Googled it or anything. But it is quite a famous film, and it's obviously Francis Ford.
I think it's iconic and just more for its...
But I found it dull.
I found it so dull.
I found it really slow, and I get what it was going for. I think it was going for sexy vampires. And there was a lot of name dropping of various characters like Van Helsing, Nosferatu, like things like that within Dracula and that world of vampires.
I think it's more like trying to satiate Dracula fans' need.
I feel like it was indulgent. I think it was indulgently slow, and everything was like thought about and just aggressively strange. But I think Keanu Reeves is so distracting in it for his awful accent. Thankfully, he does disappear, because the problem is he's in the first half an hour of the film loads, and then the next part of the film he's not in it that much, is he? Because he gets locked away. Oh, so he has like a little orgy, and then he gets locked up.
Oh,
I know, you did miss some boobies.
Yeah,
you did miss a few boobies.
some boobies.
And then he gets locked away, and then, because Winona Ryder is his like long lost love, isn't it, Gary Oldman? And Gary Oldman is good in it because he just kind of scenery chews his way through it. But I don't know. I don't think I can give it a score because I don't think I was awake for enough of it really to give a full.
So does that make it a 0 then?
I don't think I optionally turned it off.
Okay.
I think for me it's unrated. But I think
TBC.
Yeah, because basically we did 2 films in a row, listeners, and I think whether it was the film, the problem was as well was the film that we're going to talk about in a minute was also kind of slow,
and it was
basically dialogueless and incredibly strange, and I think that might have worn out our fragile little minds. And then by the time we got to Bram Stoker, I think we
food as well.
had a bit of pizza and a bit of Burger King. We were all like, ooh.
We felt the food digesting.
We felt the effects of the food, and I nodded off for a bit. Joe nodded off on basically the whole film.
Well, I'll say probably a good hour.
It was a decent. Well, the film was only 2 hours.
Maybe 40 minutes. Then. I got 40 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah.
It was just as they got to like the town, and Dracula's like dressed up as some other bloke.
Yeah, he's dressed up as like a normal.
Yeah, and that was like kind of when I started tuning out. And then you mentioned, you're like, I'm struggling to stay awake for this. And I was like, as long as Harry's not. I was like, if Harry's struggling, that means I can just fucking go for it.
Just go to sleep. But yeah, so I think we're both going to leave it as unrated, but we just thought we'd kind of discuss the fact that I think if you're an old school kind of horror fan, or maybe into your like Francis Ford Coppola films, it's probably
if you drank
great.
like 20 Red Bulls.
Yeah, but you need you need to be very awake for it, I think. But if you're tired, it's a great film to have a little kip to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
it just felt so slow.
Screw a lullaby or a children's book.
Just watch Dracula and dream of bloody boobies and stuff. Like, cause it was just, it was just a bit slow. But then we watched. Before that, we watched a film called Mad God.
A long-awaited film.
Been trying to watch this for like a year with all 4 of us, and sadly it wasn't all 4 of us. We failed that, but so me and Joe and our friend Kit watched it for our double bill Halloween night with Takeaway. So we watched Mad God first. Now this is a unusual film, to say the least.
I agree.
It's by Phil Tippett, who's been making it for like 12 years, something ridiculous. He does all the stop motion for like Star Wars, huge name in and stop motion animation. And this was his directorial debut. I don't even know if he'll do another film. And I don't know what it's about. Basically, there's a character called the Assassin. It's totally dialogueless, and he basically gets lowered down into what I can only assume is hell, or something like that.
I think what happens.
It's like the death of civilization, isn't it?
Because it's obviously God is angry with how poorly humanity's been.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's just tried to start over and start over and start over.
There's a lot of sins going
on, all the layers that go below, he's just punishing for how bad they were. Although it seems like there must be civilization at least reaches further than even the assassin went.
So
at least it must have started at least somewhere and then had to have built outwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just a bit of a like metaphorical fucked civilization,
social commentary,
all of our sins. Yeah, social commentary on our consumerism and our whatever, just loads. But basically, so he goes through these stages and he gets right to the end. He opens up a suitcase and then there's a piece of dynamite in there, and he's about to set the timer off. The clock breaks. And then he gets taken by a giant spider. And then I thought that that film was weird up until this point, but it just gets weirder. Yeah. So he basically gets taken in by some surgeons, and then our main character basically gets cut open, And I reckon they must have spent like 3-4 minutes
Just digging shit out.
just
of him.
digging gold out of him.
Yeah.
It was like treasure, wasn't
They
it?
were splashing around
And they're
his
like
guts
just
for a bit
pulling his
first.
guts, but like gold keeps coming out of him and chains and watch everything. And then eventually they pull out a little worm that cries like a baby.
Yeah.
They give that baby to the doctor, who then offers it up as a sacrifice to some weird witch person.
But isn't that in between that? The
And then
videotape plays.
Yeah, so they basically play back his memory, don't they?
Mm.
Of a previous assassin who was sent in. I can't remember what they did. They go for a war. They went through a war battlefield, didn't they? And he was in his car. So he'd found the car and he was driving the car and he went through a warscape. And then, but that went on for so long that I'd kind of forgotten that the film had done that. It had gone to a different area, and then it came back to where we were, and I was like,
"Oh shit!"
What and then the witch carries the baby on away for ages.
Yeah.
And then it's just bizarre. But like the thing is the plot. It sounds weird, but actually it's just all the imagery that comes along with
There's
it.
so much fecal imagery.
Yeah,
and,
there's
guts
and poop and boobs on balls. And
yeah,
there was a demon.
gross...
There was like a demon red goat getting a hand job at one point.
Yeah, it's just like obscenely grotesque.
Yeah,
just for the sake of being.
It's like the weirdest dream.
I think it's like
it?
meant to make you feel that. It's like more nightmarish.
It's a total nightmare of a film, isn't it? But it is like the most like that dream where you wake up and then you go back to sleep and everything's just strange.
Yeah.
It's like that. It was like a really surreal odyssey of what the fuck.
There's an old stop motion VHS I used to watch about like these cavemen, and it was like the animation or like the claymation was like so bad that it was kind of felt, I don't know, a bit almost uncanny valley.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me.
Yeah, it was intentionally awkward, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
It was you could tell it was like rough around the edges. It wasn't like this. You know, like Aardman animation is like all completely smoothed out. All the characters look top notch, whereas with this and like the claymation, it was like it was all rough around the edges. I think it was like intentionally done.
I think it was.
But for what reason, I've got no idea.
Oh, and there was the poo people, weren't they?
Because
there's basically they go into a scene where there's like giant people being electrocuted,
and they're all shitting
their guts out into a giant skull, which is also like a machine, yeah. And then it goes through the machine, and then it poops out little people, and then the people basically have no like self-worth. They're like slaves, and they just like die.
Do whatever, like,
they just kind of do things, and then they might just die. And there's like such a long montage of them just randomly dying.
And there was that weird scene of like, was it like an elephant having a shit? And then there was like this weird creature that comes out and licks with this weird little tongue and licks it clean, and it shits on it again.
I don't know if I can remember.
That was like the bit that was like, I can't believe what I just watched.
Yeah. I know. I didn't keep it. I kind of wish I hadn't sold it again, because I feel like I might want to watch it again in like 10 years.
Yeah, that'll probably be something that would like gather in value, I think, as well. It's just like so niche that like eventually
it is so fucking niche.
The cult fan base for it will, you won't be able to buy it anywhere.
I think it's on Shudder.
Yeah, but probably Shudder will shut down eventually, won't it? They all will.
Shudder its doors.
Say in like 20 years. It's gonna be like one of those, rare.
Yeah. But I don't really know what to say on it, really.
No, I mean visually,
like, it's amazing.
Like, the achievement it has in like being a film that took that long to make. That, it puts you in that world completely. It's very immersive.
Yeah,
I feel like it's got to be. You've got to give it like a decent rating for at least the craftsmanship.
Yeah, it definitely. I don't think I understood it.
No.
But I did actually rate Bram Stoker's Dracula at the time, but I don't remember rating it. But
what did you give it?
I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Oh.
But yeah, I gave Mad God a 7.5 out of 10. I think you'd have to be a real diehard for the craft to enjoy it. That's the thing, is I think if you have a real imagination and you really like stop motion,
and Phil Tippett, his work in particular as well already, because he might have things like his influence that is already similar in that vein that we're just not aware of, and this could be like this is the run of the mill classic that we were waiting for.
Yeah.
For like diehard fans.
Yeah, it was quite tiring, because there's no we've got to highlight it. I'm sorry, Joe. We've got to say it. There's literally basically no dialogue.
No.
There's no writing in any of it, bar a scripture at the start, apart from one bit of graffiti on the wall, which literally just says, "Joe is retard."
It's like at the film.
No, I can say that word because it is literally part of the film. It's on the wall, but it was so random. Of all the people, and me and Kit, well, all three of us was in absolute hysterics. But like,
it was so strange.
It was
Do you know
so
what
random.
That's actually reminded me of something.
Oh, it was
happened
tart,
in Fiji.
wasn't it? Joe was retard.
Retard.
That's it. It wasn't tart. It was tart. Joe was retard.
That's
And it was just so weird that was on. Like I said, there's basically no writing. There's no dialogue.
No.
And we're just sat here with a Joe, and it just pops up on the wall,
Do you know
and it makes like a point of seeing it, doesn't it?
It does. That really reminds me of something that happened to me in Fiji. I was walking, random town in Fiji, down this little back alley. On the wall, graffiti, Joe Burgess.
No.
Fucking
That's so weird. It's a small ass world, isn't it?
Isn't it? But other side of the planet.
Yeah.
What are the chances that Joe
Your
Burgess
mum was just there, like
was
trying to psych
walking
you out.
past, and it was just so insane. It was like
That is really weird.
fucking Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that is bizarre. But yeah, so I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I did enjoy it for what it was, but I think I'd need to watch it many more times for me to work out what it was.
Like properly score it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because it was quite exhausting to watch, and I appreciated it, and I was like, this is just so gross. But it was like some of it just felt like the bit where he is taking the treasure out of him. I don't know what it was trying to symbolise. I don't know what it was trying to achieve, and it just took ages. And I was literally sat, I'm like, am I still watching the same thing? Like, has this really been going on for like 3 minutes? And yes, it had basically been going on.
Because the scenes would run to a point where you'd be like, okay, I'm starting to understand this a bit. At least what's happening in the scene. But then it would just like completely switch, and you'd be like, hold on, what?
Yeah.
I thought I had it. I think I'm gonna have to just give it like a 7.
Yeah.
I do really appreciate how good it looks. Like the stop motion, it gives you that eerie, weird, gross feeling. All the physical effects, practical effects. Sorry, physical defects more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not something you could probably rewatch for like a while without.
No.
At least having read something about it, and
I think I need to Google what it all means.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it. So yeah. So that was our sort of 3 joint films.
Yeah.
That we've watched together forever. Always and forever.
Yeah, always into infinity.
But yeah, so cool. So should we what should we do? Shall I talk about some things? Do you want to talk about some things?
I'll talk about
Go on.
something that I ticked off of my 3, 2, 1.
Let's do a 3, 2, 1 episode then, because I got fucking loads I could talk about.
Yeah.
My 3, 2, 1.
Wicked.
And then maybe some stuff at the end. We'll see how we go.
How long? I don't even know how long we've been going for, to be honest with you. 28 minutes. That's not
Lovely.
bad. So yeah, we're getting there. So yeah, I obviously started my year with the aim of finishing Shadow the Colossus,
which is like a 15-hour game, folks.
Yeah, it's not
not a long game.
It's not massive, but it's something that I just put down one day and I haven't gone back to, which I feel bad about. But it's one of those things.
You can have Elden Ring back now, by the way, if you want it. Because I've done Shadow of the Erd Tree.
God knows.
You're never going to complete it.
Hell no.
But if you ever want to give it another stab,
I'll let you know.
Let me know.
All right, but yeah, this is a game that I've been meaning to play, and I've always put off because there's like a simple mechanic in it that I just always put me off of it. And that game is Majora's Mask, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. So I think I first heard about this when I was probably like 14, 15. I bought the game, I tried it then, and I really did not like the pressure of having only 3 days to complete the game.
It's why I haven't completed it yet.
But you don't. You have an infinite amount of time to complete the game because you can use your ocarina to reverse time back to the dawn of the first day.
Yeah.
And it starts the cycle again. What I like about it is that everything happens on a timeline. So you can do certain things on certain days at certain times, and you'll get certain rewards for it. What I don't like about it is how vague it has to be.
It's old school gaming.
It is
though,
really
isn't
old
it?
school game. At least
And there's
Ocarina
no
of Time,
way markers to say where you need to go.
It's Ocarina of Time semi holds your hand, by being like, okay, you just got to go up
Go over the hill. Yeah.
and or at least it tells you which zone you've got to go to next at
Mm.
least, and you kind of can figure out through that. But if you really want to complete this game, you've just got to run around everywhere, talking to everybody, trying to do everything, rewinding it, and then figuring out how to do that. Because there's some really obscure stuff. You've got to take certain items to certain places. You've got to play certain songs in certain places to trigger certain events.
Yeah.
There's some things that you'll start a quest and it might have 3 chapters to it.
Yeah.
Which means at the end you'll probably get either a piece of heart or a special item.
Right.
So you have to do all 3. Otherwise, if you start 1 and 2, you'll never have that complete in your events book.
I see what you mean, because then you go back in time and it reverts everything.
Exactly. So there's some things that transcend time. So you can upgrade your sword by using gold dust, which once you do that, you can reverse back in time.
I suppose because you take the item back with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's all the songs, because you still have the knowledge of the songs, you remember all the songs once you got them. All your masks you keep after you rewind time, which made it very helpful. So for the last boss battle, basically, I think it's semi-last, second to last boss battle. It's 2 bosses, but it counts as 1. And when you finish a temple, you can go back in it. You can warp straight to the boss fight. I only beat one of the bosses, but then I died.
Right. Okay.
Or no, I ran out of time, and I had to I was mid boss fight, and the clock still ticks, so I had to warp out and reverse time again, and do the whole thing again. But I didn't actually have to do it all again because the warp point was active. So I kind of cheesed it at the end there a bit. But I really did like how inventive it was by using that.
It is a really clever mechanic, but the thing I struggle with is I just couldn't work out what to do with it.
It's keeping track of it as well.
Yeah.
Because you start doing something, you'll be like, oh, I found this quest, I want to start doing this quest. But it's oh, you can't really finish this quest until you've done this. And it's oh, well, I need to do this in order to do this, to get this mask, which helps me with this. But I feel it all almost all, there's a few optional bits, but a lot of it ends up being integral to how you complete the game and being really helpful to how you complete the game as well. But yeah, it's not as good as Ocarina of Time, just because I think that's so timeless. Whereas
this one
Majora
feels a bit more
timed.
niche. Yeah, more timed. Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
yeah, it feels a bit more niche, doesn't it?
It does, and I could not complete it without a guide.
No.
Unless I was really, really dedicated to it, there was no way that I was completing it without a guide.
No.
And if I did, I would have got through with the bare minimum hearts and fuck all stuff. But yeah, I'm glad I've done it. It's one that I'm happy that I've finished.
I'm quite jealous that you've sat down and done it. I do need to do it, so I'm
Well, it's
a
just
massive
great 'cause
Zelda boy, aren't I?
It's 3DS, so I can take it out into the garage
Yeah.
when I'm having garage time.
What are you doing in the garage, eh?
Having fun.
Having chill, working on your bike.
Exactly. I would give it. I still give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Nice.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's obviously the same engine that Ocarina of Time was made on. So it plays just as well as it.
Yeah.
And it's recognisable place. No, actually no. It's not in Hyrule.
No, it's in Terminus, isn't it?
Yeah, so you don't have. It's not as recognisable, but there's familiar faces. The Gorons, the Zoras, and
the species are the
Dekus.
same, aren't they?
Exactly. But yeah, happy that I've done it, and I only have some films to watch now.
Nice. Very good. What are your films?
Perfect Blue, Finished Gladiator, and Paris, Texas.
Yeah. Very good.
Hell yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you for that review of
You're so
Majora's
welcome,
Mask.
Harry.
We'll stick to our 3, 2, 1s for a minute then. So I watched Succession, all 4 seasons. So I watched all 4 seasons of Succession. Now, basically, as the name suggests, it's about a very wealthy family who's in line for the succession of the family business, essentially. Now, the family business is he's kind of like a Trump, but basically he's a huge like he owns like the biggest news company in America. He basically owns the equivalent of Fox News.
Right.
He also owns theme parks, cruises.
He's like a conglomerate.
A huge conglomerate, like probably the
Rupert
richest,
Murdoch kind of.
like probably the richest people in America, basically. So Brian Cox is the patriarch.
The 1% of the 1%.
He's and he's the top of this business. He basically built this business, and then obviously there's loads of like different shareholders and stuff. But he has 4 kids. One who isn't in it as much, the oldest, who basically had with a wife, his first wife, I think. And then there's 3. So the 3 are Kendall, Shiv, and Roman. And they're played by Jeremy Strong. Forgot the actress's name because she's not in very much. And then Kieran Culkin, who's Culkin's brother, plays Roman. And then Logan Roy is the top of the. Right. They're the Roy family.
Roy. Yeah, Roy.
But basically, right at the start of the show, Logan has like a heart attack and goes into or a stroke or something, and then it kind of like kicks off the events of Succession. And then the series kind of follows on from that, and he recovers, and then loads of stuff happens. And it's a bit hard to kind of review because it's a bloody brilliant show. The thing to take from it is that the dialogue is amazing. The performances are amazing. It deserves all its Emmy wins. Some of the main characters are Matthew McFadden, who is a British actor, but basically plays Shiv's husband or boyfriend or husband for some of it. And he's just absolutely hilarious. He's like someone who probably wasn't really rich, who grew up but basically came into rich, but always wanted to be rich and like mega rich. And he just like soaks it all in and like abuses his power like almost immediately as soon as he gets it. Yeah. Like there's a bit where he's like pays someone to be like his stool. Do you know what I mean? Like in the office. Yeah. He got his feet on them, and then there's like another guy. Basically, there's like a cousin called Gregory who is him and Matthew McFadden's character Tom Wamsgans, which is his name. They like form a bit of a duo, as like kind of like outsiders, I guess. But Greg is like again poor, and he basically kind of forces his way into the family to like get a good job. But he just rips this Gregory for like most of the show, but it's just so funny to watch. I think that's the thing is it is a drama and there's quite a lot happening and there's some like big bits in it, big swings, but it was also really funny, and that's what I think makes the show just so watchable. Is the writing is so good, it's really humorous. It tells a lot about American politics, about American news, consumerism, tech, I guess, is a big part of it. It's just huge, and just also like the toxicness that can come from just being exuberantly rich. Right. It sets it up really well. In the first episode, there's a bit where they basically go to their like home outside of New York, because they own fucking everything. But they basically go play some family baseball on Logan Roy's birthday, and there's this like little Spanish family that like tend to the house. Or Mexican or something, and basically they're the 2 parents there with the kid because they've been called in the last minute to get the house all tidy, and then Kieran Culkin's character Roman basically says to this kid, if you hit a home run, I'll give you $1 million, and then not a home run, gets like a whatever you call it. Oh, it is a home run. What's the way you knock it out of the park?
That's home run.
Oh. But not when you knock it out of the park, but you get around all the bases.
Oh, still, that's like...
It's like the same thing.
Basically, yeah.
Fine.
It's a run.
He basically has to get a home run, but then he doesn't get the home run. Oh. And then he rips up this $1 million check in front of this, like, 8-year-old's face that could have just absolutely changed their lives. And it's just... And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just absolutely disgusting how these people treat the, like, anything below that, like, top. So arrogant. But oddly, they're all quite likable in their own way because you just live in this world of exuberant wealth, and they're all like real people, and they all have their own problems. Like Shiv has basically issues with the fact that it's just a male-dominated world. There are obviously other female characters. This is a man's world, and she faces a bit of that, and she's quite politically like to the left, whereas obviously their news company is politically very right because it's like Fox News. Yeah. So they kind of come up against that a little bit as well. But yeah, it's got some really big dramatic swings and good turns, good bit of emotion towards sort of the last season, and then the ending comes around, and I reckon it's got to be one of the most satisfying endings in any sort of show I've watched, because it doesn't end I don't think it ended the way I thought it was going to end, but it ends so true to the characters and how they've basically sort of been.
Right.
It doesn't portray any sense of we're just going to put a bow on this show. It basically acts it out all out how you think it would happen. But yeah, it's good, and all the characters are extremely well defined. They're all really unique and all really well acted. Because I think, again, I'm not too sure, but I think there's some involvement with the guy who wrote the thick of it.
Oh, really?
But I don't know. I'm sure I read it somewhere.
Armando Iannucci.
Maybe, I'm not sure. But it also is produced by Adam McKay and Will Ferrell, which sort of explains where some of the funniness comes from.
Big Shorty as well.
Yeah, it can be a little bit like that, less satire-y. But yeah, it's just fucking banging. It's such a good show.
I mean, obviously
it's one of the big ones, isn't it?
It is. It's something I see about a lot on social media, but I've not watched it yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's on my watch list.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it. But I think out of all the characters, I think Matthew McFadden I just loved him. He's just so good in that role. But I gave season 1 a 9, season 2 a 9.5, and then season 3 and 4 were both 10s for me. It's just an immaculate show.
Crazy.
It's just so well made. There's basically nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I think if I went back and watched the first 2 seasons, I'd probably give them 10s as well. It's you're just finding your feet with it a little bit.
Yeah.
There's it's quite hard to watch. I mean, obviously, everyone would love to be wealthy. It's just how it is in our world. But you watch it and you're like, they're just disgustingly wealthy, and you know that this is how some people live.
Yeah.
They basically, in end of season 2, they go on to their mega yacht, which has 2 little boats, water slide, huge amounts of space, massive dining room, bar, helicopter pad on it, and I'm like, I cannot believe that people exist like this. Yeah. It's absolutely shocking that there is a boat that does this that someone just privately owns. I can't just have it, and
it uses for
just whatever,
a couple months of the year.
Just whatever. It's just disgusting, isn't it?
It is disgusting.
Oh, hey ho. But yeah, anyway, so I just but that was my 3, 2, 1
Amazing.
done now. But I am gonna re-roll my show. So I wanted to do The Expanse. I am really still very keen to do, but I don't have enough time. So I've picked a shorter show, and I'm going to watch 4 seasons of Castlevania. Am I boring you?
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to watch the 4 seasons of Castlevania, which on Netflix, which I've heard is really good, but they're only 25-minute episodes, and there's not as many. So I'm going to do that because much more manageable. I definitely should be able to finish that by the end of the year, because I'm not going to get my 3, 2, 1 challenge done otherwise. Yeah. I don't know where Cal is with his.
He's done his films.
He's definitely done his films.
He definitely hasn't fucking done Red Dead.
No, and I think he already re-rolled.
Final Fantasy?
Maybe he did switch it to Final Fantasy, I think.
And his shows were extras and in-betweens, which he's done.
Oh, so we might all succeed. My issue now is I've got Studio Ghibli films to finish.
How many have you got? You
5.
Oh,
5 or 6. I should be.
You got Christmas coming up as well, which is a great time for just sit and watch films.
Yeah, so I can tell you what I've got left to watch. I'm halfway through The Secret World of Atreati. Arietti. Oh yeah. Atreati. I got the T's and the R's.
Boy.
From Up on Poppy Hill.
Oh yeah.
The Wind Rises. The Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Yep.
Kaguya. When Marnie was there.
Yep.
I'm not gonna watch The Earwig and the Witch, because that's the one where they went.
Bad one,
There's 2 bad ones basically, which I might talk about later. One of them I've watched, and the other one is The Boy and the Heron, which is the most recent one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5.5.
5.5.
5.5.
Very nice.
So yeah, that was my review of Succession.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So what else have you got for us?
I've watched. Well, I can't watch the entirety of it because only 9 seasons are available on Now TV.
Sad.
So I've watched seasons 1 to 9 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Larry David Monathon, essentially. Yeah, it's basically just about Larry David's life as living out in LA years after the success of Jerry Seinfeld, and kind of just what he does with his time, I guess. And it just kind of shows how he interacts with the world. So So he's a person.
It's like pet peeves, isn't it?
Basically.
Seinfeld's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
The pet peeves that they all just blow out of proportion.
It's like the little things that you just don't really notice. It's like, well, actually, if you really think about it at its core level, it's actually quite an annoyance. And but he just makes it like it's going to end the world. So there could be a social situation where everyone's having, a nice dinner. And like, for example, they're like all having a dinner around a friend's house, and then they take a sip of his water. It's like, is that tap water? He's like, yeah. He's like, really? You're drinking tap water? You don't use like bottled or filtered water? And like, he actually gets asked to leave by the end of the like conversations because of, like how much he's like everyone else is like actually on his side, but they're too afraid to say it.
Yeah.
But he's like, he'll be the asshole because he's the one that said it, but everyone else like no. And yeah, I think it does great by bringing in like special guest characters as well. So there's one where they bring Lin-Manuel Miranda in.
Oh, okay.
So he's focusing on like in the last season I've watched, he's focusing on writing this musical, for Broadway, and then he wants Lin-Manuel Miranda on it. But then he becomes like this over controlling like, I just want to make it a Lin-Manuel Miranda show. So he's like, I'll write all your songs for you. He's like, oh no, don't worry, I've got them all written already. He's like, no, I'll do it. And they end up just like having this feud, and like it does a really good job of like just like setting seeds that come up later on.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And like it's always like a punchline to the episode right at the end as well. But yeah, really good to watch. Great.
I've seen like clips of it.
Yeah, it's very.
I've seen some clips from an episode where he like gives the keys to a bellhop, but it isn't a bellhop; it's a black guy. And then Wanda Sykes just turns up and he's like, "Well."
It's like
You're giving the keys to a black guy again, and assuming they're a bellhop, things like that.
Well, there's one as well. It's like he leaves his car, like a black guy's walking past him, and he forgets to lock his car. So like,
and that's the thing. And then she turns up again, doesn't she?
What you gotta do? Because it's a black guy. I thought I was gonna do it anyway. But yeah, he's just like caught in like always the worst situations. But somehow, like always, usually towards the end of the season, he ends up on top. It's like everything goes so wrong towards the whole season. But there's always.
So he plays himself.
Yeah.
So it's Larry David playing Larry David.
Yeah.
Do the other actors play themselves? They were playing characters.
Mix.
So like, because I know like Vince Vaughn's in it, and
I haven't seen Vince Vaughn in it. I don't think.
Sure.
So like some characters appear as themselves. Like Jerry Seinfeld comes as Jerry Seinfeld.
Right, okay,
Julia Louis-Dreyfus as herself. But then there's like some faces that will pop up. It's like I know who that is, but they're being a character, and it's like okay, where does it lie in terms like
well, they're playing like souped up versions.
Yeah,
of themselves,
exactly.
I guess,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen the Goldbergs?
No, but the guy, I know the guy.
The dad, yes. Yeah. So he plays Larry David's manager, so obviously not himself.
No, yeah.
But that's just an example. But no, I really, really enjoyed it. I wish I could still finish it, but
where can you get the other 2 seasons?
I don't know. I have to probably find it illegal somewhere.
Don't say that out loud.
Well, Now TV, Sky,
FBI will break through the window.
Sky, sort your shit out. Get it on, because otherwise, I've got no choice.
Got no choice.
But yeah,
Gets to do it.
It's feeling like a 9.5 majority of it.
Yeah.
There's like a few episodes where you just kind of peter out a bit, maybe 7, 8. But majority is very solid.
I have heard very good things about it, to be fair.
And you can tell that like it's a bit. I don't know, it's a bit depressing almost watching some of the later seasons because obviously he's an older guy anyway.
Yeah.
You can kind of see them all aging, and you're a bit like, oh. Exactly. Yeah, you're like, oh, how much longer can they like keep doing this for? Like, I want it to keep going, but it's like I don't want them to like just die.
Yeah, fair. Cool. Right, shall I talk about something else?
If you'd like.
I'm gonna do it. I think I've got time.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's just so much outstanding on my lists that I need to do. I can tick that one off now. That's Succession done. So I am going to talk about. I'm going to very quickly whiz through my outstanding. There's only 2. Sorry, listeners, that we can edit around this slightly. Edit. I'm going to talk about very quickly my 3, 2, 1 for my majority of the Studio Ghibli films that I'm trying to watch.
Okay.
So very quickly, I'm going to talk about Whisper of the Heart. So Whisper of the Heart is probably my favourite of the ones that wasn't directed by Hayao Miyazaki. I think that's how you say his name.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah. Which most, so basically you can tell instantly if it's not directed by him because it's basically an ordinary tale with a bit of whimsy and sometimes a bit of fantasy like laced in there, but it's his ones are always just a bit more like far-fetched but like thematically relevant to what's going on, whereas the other ones are basically just like ordinary tales, which are lovely, but I didn't enjoy them as much, whereas this one is like an ordinary tale and I just really liked it. I thought it was a really good film. But basically she lives with her mum and her dad, and she's in school, and it's basically just about like navigating school life in a way. But she meets this guy, and a few times she meets him, she's like, "Oh, he's so rude," and then like, do you know what I mean, like standoffish because for whatever reason. Then she finds this like antiques house, and then she realizes this boy actually lives there, and then she kind of makes friends with him, and then he eventually goes to Italy to make violins. And she wants to do this, and they're just basically going on their own journeys through life, finding out what they want to do. She likes to sing and write songs, but she writes parody songs of "Take Me Home, Country Roads." But they're not like parodies, but they're like
alterations.
Yeah, I'd kind of say alterations. So she's where "Take Me Home," like Tokyo or whatever, wherever they are. I can't remember. It's like City Roads or something like that, and then they're singing about the city that they're in. But there's a few versions of it. But it kind of comes to a point right in the middle of the film where she's in this antique shop with this boy, and it's, for me, this was just, I don't know why, I just really resonated with it because I just loved the scene. And you know when you just watch something, you're like, this is like magic.
Yeah.
And I really had it with this scene. I don't really know why, but basically she spends sort of some time with this boy, and they start to realize they're getting along quite well, and they go back to his place, and he realizes that she's been singing the song. So he starts playing it on his violin, and then she starts singing it, and it's just really nice. And then basically the old geezer who runs the antique shop turns up, and with two of his mates, and they basically just pick up instruments and just start playing this like "Take Me Home, Country Roads," and it just sounds really lush. It's really well animated. Don't know why, I just really just loved it. I was watching it and I was like, this is like a really good scene. I don't know why, I just loved it so much. But yeah, but I just really enjoyed the film. That was one of the best ones I've watched since I started this challenge. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I watched My Neighbours the Yamadas. I'm not going to spend too much time here. Basically, it's an interesting film. So it's the one that isn't really animated like it is. It's like, have you? Yeah. It's like the pencil drawings almost. And it's fine. Basically, it's about a dysfunctional family living in Japan, and it probably has about 10 to 15 different stories in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very small little stories about a significant thing, a girl getting lost in the mall, the dad being sick or whatever. And it's absolutely fine. I didn't love it compared to the other ones. I think it made a broad stroke to be different, and I think it ended up just being a bit like, meh. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. And I watched Tales from the Earthsea. So this is the only other one that has a Rotten Tomato score other than Princess and the Earwig or whatever it's fucking called. Earwig and the Witch. So Earwig and the Witch is the terrible 3D one, whereas this one... So this is the only one that's adapted from previous literature, as far as I'm aware. Right. There might be other ones that are, but this is basically based on a trilogy of novels, and this film was supposed to serve as the first of 3, I think. But it's just not very good. It starts off okay. He basically... that you meet the king of a dying kingdom. At the start, there's dragons right at the start, and they look really cool. And then you basically don't see any actual dragons for the rest of the film. It's painted out as a fantasy, but there is very little in the way of fantasy. But basically, you meet the king of this kingdom, and he's worried about his son, and he's worried about the hunger going across his kingdom. And then his son kills him with his sword, and then flees the capital. That doesn't really come back in any meaningful way, like at all. He admits it to someone later on in the film, but it doesn't really mean anything. And he basically finds a wizard voiced by Timothy Dalton, and he's fine. And then Willem Dafoe plays a weird wizard witch thing in it. It's a bit weird. He's like talks like this in it all the time. Just whispers, like really seductively.
A bit like the rat in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah, kind of. but just this like really weird. And I wasn't even really sure if it was supposed to be like a boy or a girl or neither. It was really, but he was just like really like he was in your ear with a really wet mouth. Do you know what I mean? It's very odd. But it's just it doesn't it didn't the problem was with the film is that I think it wanted to pique your interest, but it just isn't interesting to watch. The fantasy doesn't really go anywhere. The characters are pretty like one dimensional, I would say. Like it just didn't amount to anything important. The dragons on the case and all the advertisements for are literally there for like 3 seconds at the start of the film, and that's about it. And then one of the characters kind of turns into a dragon sort of at the end, but like I don't know, it was dull. 4.5 out of 10.
Oh,
not as good. And then I'm caught up with my 3-2-1s.
Nice.
But yeah, I've got fucking loads. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Not immediately that comes to mind.
How long have we been recording for, good sir?
56 minutes and 19 seconds.
Okay, let's do this. Are you ready?
Born ready.
I'm going to talk about Megalopolis.
Okay.
Let's talk about Megalopolis.
All right.
Very quickly. I don't know how to talk about Megalopolis. It's a very strange film. Francis Ford Coppola, 2 Francis Ford Coppola films.
Very dangerously close to that finger there.
And basically it's about Adam Driver, who is, I think he's like the architect or something, and he can kind of stop time. He doesn't really use it to anything other than doing architecture in New York. And one character can see him, Natalie Emmanuel's character, or however you say her name. And then it's got a studded cast: John Voight, Shia LaBeouf, Aubrey Plaza, like loads of people in it. It looks pretty good, although someone pointed out they thought it looked like a perfume advert, and then I kind of agree that some scenes do like that. It's a big, bold movie, and it was never ever going to make money. That's the thing, is it's his creative vision, but his creative vision is expensive, but it is not a film that was destined to make money.
No.
It's too strange. I can see why people didn't like it, but you've got to admire a director who's been out of the game for ages, who is a legendary director, basically being like, I'm going to self-finance this $100 million film and make it as bizarre as he did. There's like drug trips in it. There's like, it's just weird. I don't even it's basically like a Roman fable told through like the futuristic. And Adam Driver's made this material, I can't remember what it's called, like megamonium or I don't know. And he uses that to create things. And it's just a bit odd. It's a very strange film because I don't really know what the end game for it was. I think I'd have to be a lot more astute film-wise.
Right.
But the highlights for me are the performances were all pretty good. John Voight was quite funny in it, randomly. And it also had Dustin Hoffman in there as well, which was weird, because I thought he was cancelled. Yeah. I thought John Voight was as well at one point, but I feel like it's like, fine, after some of the tales of what has come out of the filming of the film, then maybe he's just got all his old friends in to be like, oh, let's ogle away. But the highlights by far for me were Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza. So Aubrey Plaza's character is called Wow Platinum, and she basically is like just power hungry. She's a news presenter and she's dating Caesar, who is Adam Driver's character at the start, and he basically is done with her. So she like goes to John Voight's character, who's basically the richest man in Megalopolis. And Shia LaBeouf is the son, but he's like a real like sex crazed like perv in it. But it feels really old fashioned. Like you've got this like real pervy, not like too pervy, not like peeping through windows pervy, but just like has a bit of a crush on Natalie Emmanuel's character, and then it's just all a bit like, he's just a bit weird, but he's so funny in it because he's like this. And then Aubrey Plaza is just great in everything, but she's so good in this. Like she really sells her character and her sort of like drive for wealth, and her like cunning. And I would probably say that her and him, they kind of form towards the end as their like corruption comes together. But there's also like huge political sweeps of like, it's vast. It probably takes on too much. You'd have to be quite a filmy and also probably brushed up on like Americanness, like politics and finance or whatever, I don't know, just anything to help you kind of get it. But it had some real magical qualities to it, but it was I just was overwhelmed by what it was trying to tell me, I think. But I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. But I think next episode, listeners, I will be talking about a great many films that have just come out. I'm not going to talk about. I've got Anora, Smile 2, Terrifier 3, and Transformers 1.
Oh my god.
Which are all new releases, which I've been waiting to talk about for ages. So we'll save those for next week. But otherwise, if you're happy. Oh, and Agatha All Along I've finished as well.
Bloody
Another new
hell,
release.
mate. Just chill out.
I seem to calm the fuck down.
You do.
But yeah, thank you for listening.
As always, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, on CornBread.
On CornBread TV.
TV? If you're watching TV,
Yeah,
you're
if you're listening.
podcast.
Right. Hasta la vista, bitches.